What do Larry Brown, Jim Boeheim, and Donnie Tyndall all have in common besides being very successful men's basketball coaches? All three individuals within the last 2 years have been cited with head coach responsibility by the Committee on Infractions. What this means is the Committee on Infractions found that each of these three coaches failed to promote an atmosphere of compliance in their program. Now let's look at the three cases. First, we will talk about Larry Brown and Southern Methodist University. In this case, a former assistant coach and a former basketball administrator helped a former student athlete with coursework to become eligible to play at SMU. Although Larry Brown did not have direct knowledge or involvement in the misconduct, he did not follow up on the completion of the coursework by the student athlete. Then, upon learning of the misconduct in 2014, the head men's basketball coach did not report it to the compliance staff, conference office, or the NCAA enforcement staff for more than 1 month. When asked by the NCAA enforcement staff about the potential violations, the head coach initially denied having any information about the conversations with the former administrative assistant and student athlete. Larry Brown was suspended for 30% of the team's games during the 2015-16 season, and the team was banned from postseason play. In the case of Jim Boeheim and Syracuse University, the Committee on Infractions again cited head coach responsibility. During the 10-year period of violations, Jim Boeheim did not promote an atmosphere of compliance within his program and did not monitor the activity of those who reported to him as they related to academics and booster involvement. Many of the violations that occurred in the program involved the head coach's students and staff. Additionally, many of the academic violations stem from the Director of Basketball Operations, who Jim Boeheim handpicked to address academic matters in the program. Jim Boeheim was suspended for 9 games for failing to promote an atmosphere of compliance and monitor his staff. Next, we will look at Donnie Tyndall, who at the time of the investigation and findings was the head coach at the University of Tennessee, although all of the violations stemmed from Donnie's time at the University of Southern Mississippi. Tyndall acted unethically and failed to promote an atmosphere of compliance in his program when he directed his staff to engage in academic misconduct. During the investigation, Tyndall also fabricated a document to justify payments to student athletes and took other actions to thwart the investigation. As a result, Donnie Tyndall was hit with a 10-year show cause penalty for the series of rules violations that occurred. A head coach is presumed responsible for the actions of all assistant coaches and administrators who report directly or indirectly to the head coach. The head coach is expected to promote an air or atmosphere of compliance within a program. A head coach may receive a show cause order and be suspended for up to an entire season for Level 1 violations and up to half a season for Level 2 violations. As a head coach, there are 3 primary areas that you should focus on to ensure that you're promoting an air of compliance in your program. First, communication. Make sure your staff understands the head coach's expectations for NCAA compliance. Be sure you're demonstrating to your staff that you view compliance as a shared responsibility. Show that you have an understanding of NCAA compliance and bring it up during staff meetings. The next step is monitoring. Head coaches, be sure during staff meetings you have agendas that specifically address compliance issues. Look for red flags within your program. Ask questions of your assistant coaches and support staff. And consult with the compliance office. We are a resource for you and your staff. The last step is documentation. As a head coach, you will be required to show that you have promoted an air of compliance, so be sure that you're documenting any time you discuss with your staff any concerns or issues that may have arisen, and what steps you took to correct the actions. It is possible for head coach responsibility allegations not to be brought by the enforcement staff. For example, the enforcement staff did not bring head coach responsibility allegations when an assistant coach committed a Level 2 violation by making an impermissible recruiting contact with the prospect. Although the head coach was presumed responsible, the enforcement staff believed the head coach rebutted the presumption based on the following. The head coach communicated on numerous occasions a zero tolerance for violations. The coaching staff and compliance staffs participated in weekly meetings as documented in contemporaneous agendas and other written communications. And 3, there was a documented pattern of coaching staff members routinely and proactively contacting the compliance staff with questions and concerns. Quickly, look to your left. Look to your right. No, seriously, look to your left, look to your right. People in front of you and behind you. Realize that we're all in this together. Compliance is a shared responsibility, and the actions of one person can impact the entire group. Also, remember, one prospect, one student athlete, is not worth losing your career or impacting our overall athletic department. Please remember that Jacob and I are here to be resources to you and your staff. Don't be afraid to ask questions, and we'll do our best to get you a prompt answer.